Sebastian Metal Martinez, MMAnytt, here in Houston for UFC 192, where the reigning light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier makes his first title defense. How does that feel to hear? First title defense?
Feels good to hear, but they did give me a tough one, because the guy's good, I respect him. But it's very encouraging to see that on your website, I got 45% of Swedish people think that I'm going to win this fight. That's a big deal, considering the bias. I bet if you went down to Louisiana and asked them who would win, Alex wouldn't have 45% of the vote.
And why do you think that is? Because, the bias plays in very harshly. It's like most likely people from, niche countries, smaller markets like this will always vote for their own guys.
Yeah.
But why do you think this is, in comparison to previous fights, such a landslide? Because, when he fought Johnson, I think Johnson had about 10%.
Yeah, well, man, sometimes people just remember your last performance. And being that the last performance was at home in Stockholm, and what they saw, they're like, man, maybe they're not as confident as they were in Alexander before. Yeah. But they should be. But next fight. Yeah. They should be very confident in Alex's next fight. This is a tough one for him. He's a good fighter, but this is an uphill battle for Alex.
Yeah, it is, and especially not considering the fact that he's coming from a loss. When this fight was presented to you, were you surprised? Because it's very rare that, fighters do get a title shot after a loss.
I was surprised, but it's whatever. The UFC tells me who I'm fighting, and I say, okay, I'll start preparing. They said it was Alexander Gustafsson. I said, good. This guy brings eyes. He brings the country of Sweden where people watch. I was there in Stockholm in January. It was amazing, the environment. He brings eyes. He will make me he will raise awareness for me around the world. I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm glad it's Gustafsson.
And your last...
Gustafsson. Yeah. I'm going to say Gustafsson because I'm actually speaking to people in Sweden. When it's in the U.S., they butcher his name constantly, calling him Gustafsson, so I get comfortable with it. I'll call him Gustafsson from now on.
You're very well on your way to earning more and more Swedish fans. It's like you're branching out internationally.
I would definitely like that. Let me tell you, Sweden's a nice place, man. Stockholm was fun. I just kind of struggled with the time difference because I would sleep all day, so for 2 days I lived in the absolute darkness. I never saw sunlight.
Hey, all you're doing right now is describing a Swedish winter. So
yeah, I know. It was bad. I would go and do stuff and hang out a little bit, and then I'd be so tired during the day that I would just rest. Yeah. And then by the time I woke up, it was like dark again. I'm like, man, this is bad.
And sometimes you can miss the entire day's daylight if you're working and you're away. Yeah.
I missed the entire sunlight a couple times. It's bad. That's crazy, man.
Frustrating. Now, obviously, Alex is a very tall, rangy fighter, good reach. Not the first time you're fighting a tall, rangy fighter with a good reach. But why will this fight be different? They say that you learn a lot more from losses than you do from wins. Do you think maybe that a fight against John in some way sort of subliminally helped prepare you for this fight?
I think it did, because I was able to feel that body type in the 205-pound division. Yeah. I fought big guys before at heavyweight, and that wasn't an issue. But at 205, I had never felt that body style, a tall guy that hangs on you in a different manner. That's what I'm going to take from the fight with Jones. I know what to expect in the type of body I'm going to feel with Alex now. I'm not going to be surprised and say, wow, he's bigger than I imagined he would be, because I've already felt that.
And do you have any special training partners that you bring in for this kind of fighter?
Yeah, I had Ruslan Magomedov. He's a very tall striker, Sambo background, been there for 8 weeks. Obviously, I train with Cain Velasquez because he makes me work so hard. Luke Rockhold is almost as tall as Alex, so I've had a lot of tall guys to train with in preparation for Alex. No one is Alexander Gustafsson. No one's Alex. He's one of the best fighters in the world, but these guys are as close as I can get to it.
And now, like you mentioned, your training partner and good friend Cain Velasquez. Unfortunately, his last title defense didn't go his way. Is it? I've heard a lot of fighters saying that it's almost tougher seeing their friends fight than it is for themselves because they can't control when their friends fight, or they can't affect it in the same way in the cage. Yeah. So, looking back, how hard was that for you, and how do you see him bouncing back from it?
It was tough, man. It was hard to watch because I could watch Cain fighting and see that he was just trying to do what he always does, and that's pressure, move forward, and he just couldn't do it. There was like a 200-pound weight on his back that he could not shake. It was very difficult because I figured at that point we were just kind of surviving instead of trying to win the fight. Cain was trying to win the fight, But in my mind, it was about survival, you know, because he really had nothing left. I was still very encouraged by the beginning of the fight, because normally it takes Kane a little bit of time to get a guy's timing. He didn't actually need that time for Verdun.
And how do you see this, the rematch playing out differently?
Just, it'll be okay. You know, we'll make some changes. Cain Velasquez, last fight, he didn't make mistakes. We did as his support system. We should have been more vocal about getting out there earlier, as his friends and coaches. Tell him that this was a bigger deal. We didn't know. So we're going to be better prepared as a staff, better prepared as teammates, better prepared as our fighter will be better prepared to go out there and regain his championship.
And how much of an impact would you say that Cain has had on you and your career and just your fighting style?
He's been the most important factor. From my fight in January to my fight in May, with him being there through training camp, huge difference, man. And then this time I had my entire team, him, Ruslan, and Luke. So it's just getting better and better, but he's been a massive, massive help to me since I started fighting.
All right, and to round things off, like we just established, you got a lot of fans all over the world, least of none in Sweden. What's your message to the fans?
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the support. I had a great time in Sweden. You guys have a beautiful country, beautiful city. And just keep watching MMA, man, and keep supporting it at the levels that you guys did. That was one of the loudest arenas that I have ever heard in January. You guys should be very proud of how you went out and supported your guy.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel. Good luck in the fight.